Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And today we're going to go into the brand new Octagram Emblem Ceremony event, which does give us two new pieces of gear, which we have not yet seen before, and a parallel processing stage. So first off, the parallel processing stage does have a chance to drop platinum hammers, so please make sure to do that every day. You get these ores that is required to reforge the new gear, which is fire, earth, and light attack 2% and 5% synergy power. So this is good, fairly generic gear. Obviously, it requires synergy and requires a fire, earth, or light character to be truly effective. But this is the first time an amulet has given us one of the big four kind of damage buffs: crit, pierce, synergy, and aegis. So this will be very, very strong, and thankfully Masayuki is both light and he wants synergy, so this will work great on him, and you get it for beating just the first two stages, which are fairly easy. And then we have the actual fight, the second stage, Death's Crossing, which does not have a set starting hand. It does give Octagram Emblems and a Platinum Hammer, and Guy has 1.6 million HP, resistance against stun, nerfs blue orbs, and then Lord's Ambition, invincibility, and nullifies status effects, so probably no reckoning for us, because he's probably going to be invincible on turn 5. So, other than that, there are some missions related to just clearing the stages in general in the mission tab. So we take a look at these, and we've got clear it 10 times, 20, up to 100 times, and then awaken the gear and evolve it and forge it and everything. So fairly easy missions, and you could do the parallel process 10 times a day and you'll be looking good. But let's go ahead and take this stage, where'd it go? Take on the Death's Crossing ritual with 1.6 million HP using a few different teams. I might have a part 2 video to this, I'm not entirely sure yet, but 1.6 is not a lot in today's day and age. Alright, so the first team is going to be the new meta Scourge Wielder. We're going to go kind of a bit more friendly on the team build. So we've got Elmezia and Masayuki, free to play Kigali, Bride Shuna for a triple orb steal, just so we can get Masayuki's ult very quickly. Even though he's AoE, he'll do enough damage. And then we've got Warrior's Mind Guy for guaranteed crits and ult damage, guaranteed crits and 80% ult damage. And then Space Rimuru, who's giving us, if he's not skill fused, 40% attack, or 50% attack. And if he is skill fused, then he's doing that plus 40% ult resistance down, which is helpful. Obviously, since we're using such old characters, if you have better support units, just use them instead. Fern, Isis, Soka, Blanc, anybody realistically. But I'm trying to just go pretty friendly with this team, since it is the new meta, and these units are fairly old. So we do have a turn 1 convert or turn 1 steal. Even though we have nerfed blues, we're generally going to be okay. We should have enough protection gauge from our traits from Masayuki and his support, which should be Frieren, to get us access to Elmezia on turn 2. And then we get a handful of just Kigali and just Masayuki here, which is great. So we will alt swap, and then we will use Elmezia to convert this entire hand. This should get us the EX ult for Masayuki, and should also get us an ult for Kigali, just backup damage in case you need it. Because she is still going to benefit from everything that we're going to do here. She is a dark character. She's physical, so she gets the crit, she gets the ult damage. She's just, free to play. So her damage output will be a bit low. And it's no EX ult either. But we have 146 points. We still need to go one more turn in order to use everything, so we're going to alt swap again. We're going to do the Masayuki buff, and then the Chaos gimmick, so we'll get 2 stacks of that. So even if we don't kill him on the nuke on turn 4, maybe the Chaos damage will take over and actually will actually get us the final kill. But we'll bring Shuna in, because she's got protection gauge on turn 2 as well underneath her. So, not that it's necessary, because we have access to Elmezia again. So at this point, the only 2 skills that we have to use are Guy's 80-point skill and then Rimuru's 55, and we will have enough points for that with the extra 30 that's going to come in here from Elmezia. And we'll get the big-time 150% physical buff. So Shuna out, Rimuru in. He is skill fused, so Oh, it's 40 and 30. My bad. It's worse than I thought. 40% attack, 30% all resistance down. I was giving him too much credit. But we'll do the guy buff, and then we'll put another stack of chaos on, just to double down on that gimmick, in case the AoE nuke and the Kigali ult doesn't kill. But thankfully, it does. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And Masayuki does 1.1. Kigali does 568. So we don't even need to get the orbs, we don't need the gimmick, we just straight up nuked with some fairly old characters alongside the new current meta. Alright, so Guy is fire, so we're gonna go way, way, way back to the second ever EX team, World of Fantasy, which is Frey, Millum, and then Shizu and the Hero. This was like the pre-1.5 anniversary team. And then we brought free-to-play Isis for the green buff, and then Water Alice as a secondary nuking character, because she's also on World of Fantasy. And this does work, it's just very, very old. Alright, so starting off, we have 5 orbs here, so we could orb change here, or we could have done Isis. Like, it's really up to you what we did there. But I wanted to do that, and then use the Isis green buff. That way, the 4 greens can actually get us a decent amount. Or, oh, we'll do that. We'll do Millum's Convert. That works too. With the traits, we'll get access to Frey. Alice and Millum are both single target. We've got super weak point damage. He doesn't have any crit resistance, but since it's such an old team, we do need to build Millum up. Because she has the gimmick where you need to use a certain amount of skills within the first couple of turns, and that will stack her crit damage. She is skill fused, so she does start at a higher crit damage multiplier than other characters. Actually, no, she's not skill fused. My bad. I skill fused Shion. Anyways, so the number of skills you use in the first couple of turns greatly affects how much damage Millum's going to put out. Because it's a personal crit buff. It doesn't affect the team, it's just her. And if you can get an EX ult, great. But sometimes you can't. So we're on turn 3. We do have the Masked Hero, so we can alt swap here for free, but we only have 1 friggin' orb. So, cool. We're not going to get a lot out of that. We'll use Frey, who's going to convert the hand to greens, 3 and 3, 3 oranges, 3 blues to 6 greens, give us 40 skill points, and give us guaranteed crits for physical characters. So that's where we're going to get our crit rate to activate Millum's crit damage. But here, now we're looking okay, if we can alt swap correctly, which we can't. Sad days. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take the hero out, we'll bring Isis in, we will reapply the green buff, and then we'll use Frey since we got a double stack of her, and we'll just send 5 orbs here, and that should be enough to get Millum's EX ult. There we go. And max points. So we're actually going to have 190 points to use on the next turn, because Frey gives 40. And we've been using the 15-point attack stacks with the hero a couple of times, just twice. So that's an extra 30% attack for Millum, which is helpful. There's another 15% too. So let's go ahead and use the element debuff and the orb damage, and then the pierce or water resistance down, which doesn't affect because he is in Lord's Ambition state. So debuffs not going to apply. Just keep that in mind. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 105k, terrible. The hero's ult, 29k, terrible. And then Millum, 647k. But because we have 50% extra orb damage, this Millum orb does quite a bit with guaranteed crit, guaranteed pierce, 50% extra damage, all of our crit damage that we've stacked up. So it's an old team, but you might have pulled them from random EX tickets. I don't know. This could be doable. I mean, Alice is an old 5-star. Isis is free to play. So it's more accessible than other teams we're going to show today. Alright, next up is the second most recent team, Danmachi. But we're going to subtract a few units out of here. So we've got Hestia, Shuna, Belle, and then Ice. We're not going to bring Ryu. That's fine, we don't need her. And we don't have Sokka either, but she's free to play. And you could replace Violet with Sokka if you really, really wanted to. But just know that we're not going to get Belle's weakness strike damage or his pierce, because we're not going to go to turn 8 here. So you are banking on just the power of Hestia, Ice, Violet, and Fern's damage support to help Ice nuke, which thankfully she can very easily do in 5 turns. But turn 1, we've got 3 greens. We can convert into 5. We can do a whole bunch of skills here, do the green buff for free. It'd be better if we had brought Ice in first, because then the alt rush would have hit her as well. Oh well, misplay there, but maybe be a bit smarter than me. We'll bring Ice in for Violet since she had the most orbs. We'll bring Fern in, that we get maximum protection gauge from all of our traits. We're going to start using Ice's personal skill early, or her stacking skill early, mainly because we're not going to be here for 8 turns, and we're not benefiting from the weakness strike at all. We're only benefiting from the light, or the wind buff. And the more skills we use early, the faster we build Hestia up. So we're going to go with that instead. And we don't have to use anything more for Bell for his Pierce stuff, because we're, again, not going to get that. And I'd rather just funnel those skill points into the Ice skill more than anything else, because that's actually going to benefit us. And it still counts as extra skills used to get Hestia built up. So we get a full hand convert here. Alright, cool. Do more and more stacks of Ice until you can't do any more, and then we'll just send everything. I don't really think you need an EX ult for Ice with this much power, based on the damage output we do at the end of this fight. So if you just want to get enough points to maybe stack a few buffs and then bring her in on turn 4, then that could certainly work. But unfortunately, we're just not getting a lot of Ice orbs here. So let's take Violet out. Now we have a second one, and we can alt rush her, do the green buff, do the stance with Bell, because we're still going to get stacking alt damage with Bell's skill. It's just, we're not going to get the benefit of the weakness strike, because we are type neutral. So, bring Fern in for the turn 4 protection gauge underneath her, and then that's all the points we have, so let's just go ahead and send this. And we're very close to the EX ult for Ice, so we'll just nuke on turn 5, because we'll have to alt swap her away on turn 4, and that will also alt rush her up to an EX ult. And then we'll get just more and more stacks. And then on the nuke turn, we have to use her skill, Fern's, and Violet's, which should be fairly easy considering that we're going to have close to 300 points, plus another 110 from Hestia. So we're not really in danger of missing out on anything here. So one more Bell ult. We'll use the Ice personal buff now, the aerial skill that enhances buffs, the wind attack, the dodging, which I still don't know why she had that included in her kit. Like, I feel like that's just a huge waste. Dodging skills in this game are not very useful unless you have a taunt, which is gonna brain carry. Like, that worked. Cool. We managed to not take like 300 damage. Such a savior. But let's go ahead and use the magic buff, and then we'll bring Fern in for Violet. We'll use we have 2 Hestias. That's 220 points we have available. We only needed like 30. But this is a double stack of her buff, which should be close to being capped out, if not capped out. So that's like 80% extra wind attack right there. And then the EX ult up and the ult down. And now Bell does 145, and Ice does 2.7 million. So like, you definitely don't need that much power. You don't need Fern here to do that kind of power. You can bring somebody else and you'll be just fine. Or you don't even have to bring Ice. You could bring like Exalted Champion EMBLEM, or just anybody who's gonna work on this team. Honestly, like, you could bring any kind of nuker here. Hestia doesn't really care who you are, and we're type neutral, so we're not getting the protection buff anyways. Alright, another team that gets extra damage against water or against fire enemies is the old Wielder of Magic team. So EMBLEM, Shinsha, Hinata, Shizu, and the free-to-play Ranga, who I just did his skill fusion video last month, and he is a 50% all orange gauge buffer, which means that he's going to work so much better than what he previously would have. And then we've brought Visions of Coleus Blanc just for the alt swap, the weakness strike. This isn't a synergy team, so she's just here to be utility more than anything else, but it's still going to work. So Ranga can convert Wielder of Magic orbs. Thankfully, we got 3 oranges here, so we'll just bring in Blanc since Shinsha has 4 orbs, and then we'll bring Hinata in for Shizu, who doesn't have any, but we'll convert into 5, and this should get us access to EMBLEM with our protection traits. Maybe we should have left Blanc in just to make sure we could get protection gauge, but I feel confident here. Because Shinsha already gives protection. Oh, we actually couldn't. I should have left Blanc. Oh well. We'll just burn off turn 2. Because we already have a Shinsha alt, which is fine. And this is exactly why I wanted to bring just some kind of alt swapping character. You don't have to bring Blanc if you don't have her, but let's do the gauge increase for oranges. We'll bring Blanc in for Ranga. We'll swap the Shinsha alt. That'll be 3 blues. That's enough. Because Milim is still one of those older protectors where she's only doing 3 and 3, not a full convert regardless of what you have. But now the oranges are buffed up, and she's given us 40 skill points, which means that we can use the extra protection gauge from Shinsha, and now we can fairly easily cycle Protector Milim every turn. But if you don't have wrong skill fuse, he's only going to give you extra skill points on oranges from that skill. So, keep in mind that that's a thing. We're just going to send 1 or 2 orange orbs here, because I just want to get enough points to build up. So let's put the alt resistance on now. Sadly, that doesn't work here because he has Lord's Ambition on turn 5. So we're actually not going to benefit from that at all. So it's kind of a wasted point. We probably could have nuked here and been fine had we not wasted those 25. Because we still have Milim, which is another 40 points. This team isn't overly expensive, so it's kind of unnecessary. So if you're confident in your killing ability, you could just nuke on turn 4. But here, we're going to reapply the Pierce, we're going to do the attack and the EX alt damage for magic characters, and then we'll bring Hinata in, who has an alt, EX alt, and then when we use Milim, we can get 40 more points, and that'll allow us to use the element buff from Hinata. And because Hinata is skill fused, she will get weakness strike as well. So let's go ahead, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Shinsha does 696, Hinata does 266, and then we have all of our follow-up orbs that are pretty buffed up. And now Shinsha is able to kill, because the oranges are also doing extra damage just straight up because of Shinsha's own skill. But that's another fairly old team. Like, this was the pre-second anniversary team, plus Blanc, who was a second anniversary unit. So another oldie, but can still get it done. Alright, the second to last team is going to be the Frieren team, but we've taken off Blanc. We've again put the skill-fused Wielder of Magic Ranga for the 50% orange gauge increase. And then instead of Raphael, we're bringing Bride Shuna, or, Windmast Hero, or Summer Hinata, whoever you want to use for a triple orb stealer. We're just going to do a single target nuke with Fern, or Frieren. I mean, if you don't have Fern, you could use Frieren as well, that'll work. But this team should be fairly straightforward, very easy to run. Orange is not nerfed, Synergy is not nerfed, Fern is very powerful, Stark can taunt and put Synergy resistance down, and this team can do millions of damage even without an optimized setup. So we do have 3 Stark orbs, so we'll bring Shuna in and we'll yoink those for Fern, and then that'll get us access to her alt next turn, and then we could alt swap and maybe convert with Himmel, and that will give us a full hand of oranges, and hopefully an EX alt. You don't need a lot of power with this team, a lot of extra power. But here, we kind of get unlucky. So we have to convert 4. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually take Fern out. We're just going to convert 2, and then Fern goes away. And then that'll leave us with the access to Himmel to convert, and then we'll just have to swap with, or alt swap with Stark next turn. Not a big deal though, because now we have maximum points, and even though we don't have access to Himmel on turn 3, hopefully with the passive converting he's doing, plus Ranga, plus another, maybe a triple orb steal, like, we'd be okay. But we're okay here. We even have a Frieren alt, which I guess is just extra damage for you in case your Fern is not built, or you're unsure of your killing power because you don't have some of the support characters, whatever situation you're in. But we'll take Ranga out after using his buff. We'll do the alt swap and a taunt, so that's 20% synergy resistance down. And then technically we can bring Shuna in for Stark, or Fern, I guess. We'll just do this. And we're just going to rock a normal alt with Fern. No EX alt for us. And that's still not a big deal. So we're not going to benefit from half of Fern's skill, because it's EX alt damage up. but we'll still get ult damage down, we'll still get the magic and synergy power, so that'll be plenty of damage for us. So turn 4, let's go ahead and nuke. We have a Frieren EX ult, so that's nice. Look at that. And we have points here, and then we'll send her away. Boom. And, I mean, not even going to turn 5. We can only use one of these skills, so we're going to do a taunt, and then the Frieren... Did we do the Frieren skill? I don't think we did. No, yeah, we did the Frieren skill. We just didn't use the Fern personal buff, the magic and synergy. So 490k right there, and then the Frieren 862, and then the Stark ult 130, and then literally it cannot see his health bar. Obviously, if you just go to turn 5, simply. I mean, you won't get the ult resistance down because he'll have Lord's Ambition, but you'll have the EX ult for Fern probably, and you'll be able to use 3 big time buffs instead of 2. You could run this team a whole lot more efficiently than what I just did, and it will definitely get you a kill. And the final team for you today, at least for this video, I don't know if I'm going to do a second part. I don't think the stage is overly hard, so I don't know if it deserves a part 2. We'll just put a lot of teams into this fight. But we've got Warrior's Mind, and honestly, your back 2 units do not matter. We've got 2 free-to-play characters here. Cool whoop-de-doo. Shuna, Blanc, Violet, Gobwa. That is literally all you're going to need to clear this fight. So it's very, very simple. It's super duper simple. If you have this team, it's a cakewalk. So we're starting with 36 skill points, so I don't really care about your nerfed blues. We're just going to make them all rainbows, or most of them rainbows. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess we could have brought Cleash in for Gobwa, and then we could have had a full convert right there. Or had Cleash in on the front line turn 1, and then brought Gobwa in. Like, whatever you want to do. But let's go ahead and just do it again. Rainbow Orbs, and then the Blanc buff, and then the debuffs with Gobwa. And then Shuna will convert 2 of those 3 Gobwa Orbs to rainbows. And boom, there we go. Perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That gets us a Gobwa and Blanc EX ult. We have the debuffs already in place, and then next turn we'll use Control, and we'll use the... Do we have enough points to control Blanc buff and Pierce? Yeah, I think so, because we still have the 20 points from Blanc. So let's do that, and then that. Yeah. So 20 points here, that's going to put us at 110? Right? 110? Yeah. And we are 10 points over what we need, so... Not a full debuff on Pierce resistance, but, you know, whatever. It's gonna be fine. We'll do Shuna, convert the entire hand back, and now we've got 2 EX ults and 1 normal. So Violet ult first does 235, Blanc does 4.6. Who'd have thunk? So there we have it. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams that you can use to clear the Octagram event. Please make sure, again, to parallel process that other stage 10 times every day. Get those missions done. If you have any other teams that you have found that work that I did not show, then please put that down in the comments so other people can see that and maybe get an idea. But that's it from me. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.